Does the CIA manipulate the American media? It's a question that sounds like it was ripped straight from the pages of a paranoid airport thriller, you know, the kind of book your uncle might read while he's on vacation. And in a lot of ways, it's a question the public was never really supposed to ask. For decades, we Americans have been told a simple, comforting story. A free press, independent journalists, a scrappy media that speaks truth to power. It's the bedrock of our democracy, the fourth estate, the watchdog barking at the heels of the powerful. We learn it in school, we see it in movies, and we hold it up as a shining example to the world. It's a beautiful story, a powerful story. But what if that story, Wenska, is incomplete? What if the watchdog has a leash, and the hand holding it is sometimes, well, invisible? What if the barking is occasionally directed, not at every intruder, but only at the ones it's told to notice? Tonight, we are not here to accuse. We are not here to spin conspiracy theories or point fingers wildly into the dark. We are here to examine, to question, and to connect dots that are rarely, if ever, placed side by side on the evening news. This isn't about finding a single villain in a smoke-filled room. It's about understanding a system, a culture, and a relationship that is far more complex than we've been led to believe. Because the real question is not whether the CIA manipulates the media. That's far too simple and honestly a bit of a low bar. No, the real question is, how much of what we see, hear, and believe is truly independent? How much of the first draft of history has been quietly edited before it even reaches the printing press or the broadcast studio? That's the question we need to be asking, and tonight, we're going to try and find some answers. So, buckle up, this is going to get a little uncomfortable. Let's start with a basic premise, something so fundamentally American it might as well be printed on the back of a dollar bill, right next to that, unsettling pyramid eye. The United States prides itself loudly on its freedom of the press. We are the country of Woodward and Bernstein, of the Pentagon Papers, of journalists who supposedly hold the government's feet to the fire. We point to authoritarian regimes and say, see, their news is just state propaganda. Over here, our reporters are free, and in a legal sense, that is largely true. A journalist in America is not going to be hauled off to a gulag for writing a critical article, which is, you know, a pretty good start. But freedom isn't just about what's legally permissible, it's about what's practically possible. And this is where the beautiful illusion starts to shimmer. The reality of modern journalism, especially national security journalism, is a game of access. To get the big scoop, to get the inside story on foreign policy or intelligence matters, you need sources. And who has those sources? The government, the CIA, the Pentagon. These agencies hold the keys to the information kingdom. They can grant an interview, leak a document, or give a background briefing. Or they can shut you out completely, put you on the journalistic equivalent of a no-fly list. And that creates a subtle, powerful dynamic. Journalists and news organizations who play ball, who report stories in a way that is favorable to the official narrative, are rewarded with continued access. They get the leaks, the exclusives, the front-page bylines. Those who push too hard, who question the official line too aggressively, or who burn a source find themselves in the cold. Their calls go unanswered. Their access dries up. It's not direct censorship, you see. It's more like a quiet, professional shunning. It's a system of rewards and punishments that encourages self-censorship, shaping the news before a single word is even written. It's less a boot on the neck and more a gentle, persistent hand on the shoulder, guiding you in the right direction. Now, if you bring up the idea of the CIA using journalists, someone will inevitably scream, Operation Mockingbird, and they'll usually do it in a way that makes you want to, I don't know, slowly back away. But here's the thing, while it's become a catch-all for conspiracy theories, Operation Mockingbird was, in its essence, very real. It wasn't a single neat operation with a cool bird logo. It was a sprawling, messy, and very secret CIA program that began in the early days of the Cold War. The goal was simple: to use the media, both at home and abroad, as a tool for American propaganda. And they were astonishingly successful. The agency recruited hundreds of journalists, editors, and media executives. Some were willing assets, patriotic crusaders in the fight against communism. Others were unwitting pawns, fed stories by sources they believed were just well-connected officials, not CIA officers running an agenda. The agency funded magazines, planted articles in major newspapers, secretly backed student groups, and had journalists on their payroll to gather intelligence and spread disinformation. We're talking about respected publications, household names. The Church Committee hearings in 1975, a congressional investigation into intelligence abuses, blew the lid off some of this, revealing a relationship so cozy it was practically incestuous. The official story is that after the scandal broke, the CIA cleaned up its act. CIA Director George H.W. Bush issued a directive in 1976 stating the agency would no longer enter into any paid or contractual relationship with any full-time or part-time news correspondent accredited by any U.S. news service. Which sounds great, doesn't it? Case closed. Except, look at the language, paid or contractual. That leaves a lot of wiggle room, doesn't it? It says nothing about unpaid relationships. It says nothing about cultivating assets who aren't technically accredited. The program was exposed, yes, but the lingering question, the one that hangs in the air like a bad smell, has always been, did it truly end? Or did it just evolve into something harder to see? If you ask any CIA official today, on the record, if they manipulate the American media, you will get a firm, unequivocal no. They will tell you that the days of Mockingbird are long gone, a relic of a bygone era. They will insist that their relationship with the press is now professional, ethical, and above board. They will say with a very straight face, we don't do that anymore. And honestly, they probably believe it, because the crude methods of the 1950s, literally putting journalists on the payroll, are no longer necessary. The tools of influence have become far more sophisticated, far more subtle, and arguably far more effective. Think of it this way. You don't need to secretly pay a dog to bark when you can just throw a stake over the fence in the direction you want it to run. The modern form of influence isn't about direct payment. It's about shaping the information environment. It's about providing exclusive access to friendly journalists for a big story. It's about holding off the record briefings where a preferred narrative is pushed to a room full of influential reporters, who then report it as coming from senior administration officials. This gives the story the veneer of authority without any official fingerprints. The CIA doesn't have to plant a story, it just has to whisper it to the right people. This evolution is key. The agency learned from the Mockingbird scandal not that manipulating the media was wrong, but that getting caught was bad for business. The new model is less about direct control and more about atmospheric pressure. It's about making certain ideas seem credible and others seem fringe. It's about ensuring the official version of events is the first, loudest, and most repeated story in the news cycle. They don't need to write the headlines anymore, when they can successfully frame the entire debate before it even begins. So when they say we don't do that anymore, what they really mean is we don't do it that way anymore. Let's play a little game. The next time you read a major newspaper or watch a cable news report about national security, look for these magic words: a senior administration official, a person familiar with the matter, an intelligence source, or the all-time classic, officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity. You will find them everywhere. They are the ghosts in the machine of modern journalism, the invisible hands that guide countless stories about war, espionage, and foreign policy. And, while using anonymous sources is a vital journalistic tool, its overuse in national security reporting creates a massive, glaring vulnerability. When a story is attributed to an anonymous intelligence source, we, the public, have no way to vet their credibility or their motives. Is this a brave truth-teller risking their career to expose wrongdoing? Or is it an operative strategically leaking information to advance a specific policy, discredit a rival, or build public support for a covert action? We have absolutely no way of knowing. The journalist might know, but they can't tell us. We are simply asked to trust that the reporter has done their due diligence. We have to trust the judgment of a journalist who, as we've discussed, has a powerful incentive to maintain a good relationship with that very source. This system effectively creates a one-way channel for official narratives to be laundered into credible news. The CIA or another intelligence agency can float a story, test public reaction, and shape a narrative without ever having to officially stand behind it. If the story turns out to be true and popular, they can later confirm it. If it's false or blows up in their face, they can deny it, dismiss it as rumor, or simply say nothing, leaving the journalist and their publication holding the bag. It's a win-win for the agency, and a profound loss for public accountability. It's not media manipulation in the old-fashioned sense, it's narrative manipulation, and it happens in plain sight every single day. There is a strange and unsettling phenomenon that occurs in the run-up to a war. Suddenly, the media landscape, normally a chaotic mess of differing opinions, becomes remarkably uniform. A chorus of voices begins to sing from the same hymn sheet. Specific phrases and talking points appear, as if by magic across multiple networks and newspapers, repeated by politicians, retired generals, and security analysts alike. It's a process that the scholar Noam Chomsky famously called manufacturing consent, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Think back to the lead-up to the Iraq War in 2003. The phrases were everywhere: weapons of mass destruction, mushroom clouds, links to Al-Qaeda. These terms were hammered into the public consciousness relentlessly. Stories sourced to anonymous officials about aluminum tubes and mobile biological weapons labs dominated the headlines. Dissenting voices, those questioning the intelligence, were often marginalized, portrayed as unpatriotic or naive. The media didn't just report the government's case for war. In many ways, it became its most powerful and enthusiastic salesperson, creating an echo chamber that made the invasion seem not just necessary, but inevitable. This isn't necessarily a grand, centrally directed conspiracy. It's more like a flock of birds all turning at the same time. The government sets the agenda by controlling the flow of information. Key officials repeat the same talking points in interviews and briefings. These are then amplified by media outlets, partly out of a sense of patriotic duty, partly due to the access game, and partly because it's simply the biggest story in town. The result is a powerful feedback loop. The media reports the official line, the public hears it everywhere and starts to believe it, and politicians then point to public opinion polls as justification for their policies. It's a closed circuit of information, and it is incredibly effective at securing public support for conflict, often based on intelligence that later turns out to be catastrophically wrong. There are two words in the English language that have the power to stop a difficult conversation dead in its tracks: national security. Once these words are invoked, everything changes. They act as a shield for the government and a gag for the press. A journalist might be digging into a story about a botched covert operation, or illegal surveillance, or civilian casualties from a drone strike. They push for documents, they ask tough questions, and then, inevitably, the wall comes down. We can't comment on that, it's a matter of national security. This phrase is the ultimate trump card. It immediately reframes the journalist not as a watchdog for the public, but as a potential threat. To continue pushing the story is to risk being portrayed as reckless, unpatriotic, or someone who is actively endangering the lives of American agents or soldiers. This creates a powerful incentive for self-censorship. An editor might kill a story, not because it's untrue, but because the potential fallout from publishing it is too great. They fear being accused of having blood on their hands. They fear government prosecution under laws like the Espionage Act. And this fear is not unfounded. The US government, particularly in recent decades, has shown an increasing willingness to use the Espionage Act, a century-old law designed to prosecute spies, against journalists' sources, and even to threaten journalists themselves. The message this sends to the media is crystal clear. There are lines you do not cross. There are secrets you do not reveal, regardless of how newsworthy or in the public interest they may be. The national security shield doesn't just block access to information, it creates a climate of fear that ensures many of the most important stories about what our government is doing in our name are never told at all. It's the silent, invisible censorship of the stories you never even get to read. The influence doesn't stop with the 6 o'clock news, it actually extends deep into the heart of American culture, Hollywood. For decades, there's been this close, symbiotic relationship between the intelligence community and the entertainment industry. It's a form of soft power, shaping public perception not through headlines but through storylines. Think about the number of movies and TV shows where the heroes are these dashing, brilliant, and morally righteous CIA agents saving the world. From Jack Ryan to Zero Dark 30 to Homeland, the agency is often portrayed in a heroic, if sometimes complicated light. And honestly, this isn't an accident. The CIA and the Department of Defense actually have official entertainment liaison offices. Their entire job is to consult with producers and screenwriters, in exchange for this expert guidance, and often, access to cool military hardware like aircraft carriers and helicopters for filming. The producers get authenticity, but the agencies, well, they get something far more valuable: script approval. They can and do request changes to storylines and characters to make sure they're portrayed in a favorable light. Anything that might cast the agency in a particularly negative or embarrassing way can be flagged and altered. The result is a form of cultural propaganda that's incredibly potent, precisely because we don't see it as propaganda, we just see it as entertainment. We watch a thrilling blockbuster and, without even realizing it, subconsciously absorb a positive image of the institutions involved. It normalizes their actions and builds a baseline of public trust and admiration. So when a real-world scandal breaks about drone strikes or secret prisons, it has to compete with decades of fictional portrayals of those same institutions as the good guys. The CIA doesn't really need to manipulate the news about a controversial program if Hollywood has already spent years convincing us that the people running it are heroes. If the old battlefield was the front page of the New York Times, the new one is, well, your social media feed. The game has changed completely. Influence is no longer just about shaping the narrative in legacy media. It's about controlling the flow of information in a digital ecosystem that's honestly designed for virality and outrage. Here, the lines are blurrier than ever. State-sponsored trolls, sophisticated bot networks, and weaponized information can be deployed to amplify certain stories, suppress others, and, sow division and confusion on a massive scale. Intelligence agencies, and not just our own, are acutely aware of this. This is the new frontier of information warfare. Manipulation can now happen at the algorithmic level. Certain topics can be promoted, while others are shadow banned or deplatformed, often under opaque and constantly shifting community guidelines. The distinction between genuine grassroots conversation and an orchestrated influence campaign can be almost impossible to discern. A story or a hashtag that seems to be trending organically could, in reality, be the result of a carefully coordinated and well-funded operation. This creates a new and, honestly, kind of terrifying dilemma. In this environment, how do we distinguish between misinformation and an inconvenient truth that the establishment wants to suppress? When tech companies, under pressure from government agencies, decide to label a story as disputed or remove it entirely, are they protecting us from falsehoods, or are they participating in a new high-tech form of censorship? The battlefield has moved from the editor's desk to the server farm. The invisible hands are no longer just whispering to reporters. They're writing the code that determines what millions of people see, and maybe more importantly, what they don't. Perhaps nothing reveals the true nature of the relationship between power and information more than the treatment of whistleblowers. These are the people who see wrongdoing from the inside, illegal surveillance, war crimes, systemic deception, and decide that their conscience requires them to bring it to light. In a truly free and adversarial press system, these individuals would be protected, their revelations celebrated as a triumph of accountability. Instead, we see a consistent and brutal pattern of punishment. Look at the history from Daniel Ellsberg of the Pentagon Papers to Edward Snowden and the NSA revelations. The moment a whistleblower comes forward, a massive institutional machinery grinds into gear with one primary objective: to shift the focus from thee to the I. The media narrative, often guided by leaks from the very agencies that were exposed, pivots instantly. The story is no longer about the shocking information that was revealed. It's about the character, motives, and personal life of the person who revealed it. They are not a patriot. They are a traitor. Not a hero, but a narcissist. Not a source, but a criminal. This strategy is devastatingly effective. It muddies the waters and puts journalists who report the story on the defensive. It forces them to spend half their time defending their source instead of exploring the substance of the leak. And it sends a chilling message to anyone else inside the system who might be thinking of speaking out. Look what will happen to you. We will destroy your reputation. We will threaten you with prison. We will make you an example. The punishment of whistleblowers is the system's immune response, designed to neutralize the threat and ensure that the secrets stay secret. It's the ultimate enforcement mechanism for the code of silence. After all this, after looking at the history, the anonymous sources, the soft power, and the punishments, we come back to our original question. Does the CIA manipulate the American media? And the answer you've probably gathered is not a simple yes or no. The answer is, they don't have to. At least, not in the way we usually imagine. There is no cabal of shadowy figures in a room dictating headlines to the editor of the New York Times. The reality is both more mundane and more profound. The manipulation is not direct, it's indirect. It's structural. It's built into the very system of how national security news is gathered and reported. It operates through the currency of access, a currency the agency has in limitless supply. It operates through the strategic use of leaks and off-the-record briefings, which allow them to shape narratives without leaving fingerprints. It operates through the intimidating shield of national security and the threat of prosecution, which encourages a culture of self-censorship among journalists and editors who know there are lines they cannot cross. The American media is neither a simple puppet of the CIA, nor is it the completely independent, adversarial watchdog of our civics class fantasies. It exists in a gray zone of codependence. It needs the agency for information, and the agency needs it for legitimacy and public persuasion. This relationship creates a powerful gravitational pull toward the official narrative. It doesn't mean brave independent journalism doesn't happen. It does. But it happens in spite of the system, not because of it. The system itself is designed to manage, guide, and influence the news, ensuring that the media, for the most part, remains a manageable, if sometimes noisy, partner. So, where does this leave us? It leaves us with an uncomfortable but necessary realization. If manipulation were obvious, it would fail. If a CIA agent in a trench coat literally handed a briefcase of cash to a news anchor on live television, we would all see it, we would all laugh, and the game would be over. The most effective influence is the one you don't notice. It's the story that seems to come from everywhere at once. It's the assumption that's never questioned. It's the source that's never identified. It's the heroic movie you watch that makes you feel good about institutions whose actions might otherwise horrify you. The true power of this relationship lies not in the lies that are told, but in the parameters of debate that are set. It's in the ability to make certain topics the center of national attention while ensuring others remain forever in the margins, discussed only by cranks and conspiracy theorists. The goal isn't always to get the media to report a falsehood. The far more common and powerful goal is to ensure the media never reports a difficult truth. It's about managing what is considered a serious topic for discussion, and what is dismissed as being outside the bounds of acceptable discourse. This is why the ultimate question isn't the one we started with. It's not about what the CIA is doing to the media, it's about what that relationship is doing to us, to our understanding of the world. It's about the stories that are never assigned, the sources that are never called, and the questions that are never asked on the evening news. So the real question is not, is the media lying to us? That's too easy. The real question is, what are we never shown at all, and why?